So as we discussed in the previous lectures, rotation needs all three dimensions for its full description, and therefore even when motion is confined in one dimension or in a plane in two dimensions, the analysis may seem rather complicated because you still have all the three components for the angular momentum and the terms may seem very different from each other. However, in many examples of practical relevance, what we'll see is that we can simplify the task by considering rotation of the object or the particle or the system of particles about a fixed axis, right? And this is termed as fixed axis rotation. So fixed axis rotation, right? And by fixed axis, what we mean is that the orientation or the direction of the axis remains fixed at all times in space. So for example, if we are considering rotation about z-axis, then the z-axis always points in the same direction. Now of course the z-axis may translate over time, right? So the system is evolving with time. So that way the axis is free to translate but not to rotate, right? And this will be termed as a fixed axis rotation. Okay. And if that is the case, then there are certain problems which we can generalize, right, or we can use to simply understand the evolution of the system, right. So the first thing that we are going to do with this one is, now once you have said that the axis of rotation is fixed, right, what we can do is we can generalize the problem that we discussed in last lecture, that was for the conical pendulum, right. So now what we can do is we can use the analysis of conical pendulum to kind of see the motion or the rotation of any arbitrarily shaped rigid body, right. So what do I mean by that is, let us say this is a rigid body, right, and this is in three dimensions, so it's some kind of a potato shaped rigid body, right, and there is an axis about which it's making a rotation. So the entire body is going around this axis, and let us call this axis as z, and then we can also write down the other axis x and y, and this is my origin, right? So listen, this is my system, and under fixed axis rotation, what I am saying is the body is going to make going to rotate about this axis z, and z axis is fixed, right? So okay, so if this is my system, now what I can do is, if I take, let's say I divide this body as made up of multiple particles, right, or so that I can use the point particle analysis. So let's say I consider a particle here, right, on this body. Then about this origin, right, I can treat this rotation of this point as exactly same as my conical pendulum, right. There the pendulum bob was going in a circle and looking from the pivot point, we found out its angular momentum. It's exactly the same thing that is happening here, right. So all we have to do is find out the radius vector. So let us say this is the radius vector, and let's call this as the jth particle, right. So I'll call its radius vector as rj from this origin point O, and axis of rotation is z. So just to demonstrate that this is the axis of rotation, I can write it like this. And now, so what will be what are the coordinates of rj? So rj is nothing but, I can write it down in different coordinate systems, but otherwise it's nothing but your x, y, and z components, right? Okay. We can also define a perpendicular distance of this point, perpendicular distance of jth particle from the axis, right? So from the axis, so now not from the origin. From the origin, when we know the position vector, we can define the perpendicular distance from the origin. So this is a perpendicular distance, right? And let's call this as small rj, right? And we can also get the components of this small rj, right? The components small rj are nothing but the x and y components of this jth particle, right? So nothing but x I cap plus y j cap, right? Okay. In this way, if we do it, now what we can do is, let us say that we want to find out the angular momentum of this jth particle, right? So, recall angular momentum about this axis B, the pivot point that we did for conical pendulum. And what was this? This was, we wrote it down as LB equal to L rho of rho cap plus L Z of, well, let's say K cap here, it was Z cap in that case, doesn't matter, right, in the Z direction. So we knew that once we look at from the pivot, right, we have these two components of angular momentum, right, and we also know what are these components. So you can see it from the previous lecture, right, or your book. So now let me say that I am not interested in the total angular momentum, right? So I am going to simplify the problem further, and I am only interested in looking at the angular momentum component of this jth particle, right, pointing in along the axis, pointing in the k cap direction or pointing along the z axis. So in that case, let's say angular momentum of jth particle along z axis. So pointing along z axis, I'll represent this as let's say Lz of j, sorry, not j cap, the jth particle, right? And this is, from this analysis, we already have the value for this. This will be mj, the mass of that jth particle, rj square, the perpendicular distance, which in the previous lecture was capital R, so here we have changed the notation slightly, and omega, because all the particles in this body, since it's a rigid body, all the particles in this body are rotating with a constant angular speed, omega, right? I mean, for time being we are considering this constant, but they are going with the same angular speed, omega. So this is the z component of angular momentum for the gth particle, right? And now if I say that what is then the total z component of angular momentum for the total, for the entire body, like what is the total angular momentum in along the z axis? So total Lz is there, I simply sum over all these points. So sum over j, mj, rj square, omega, right? So this is my total angular momentum in z direction or along the axis for any rigid body now, right? So now it's not a conical pendulum, but we get the expression for a general expression for any of the rigid bodies, right, which is rotating like this. And what I can do is I can compactify it and write it like this: Lz. So z component of angular momentum, not the total angular momentum, right? So keep that in mind. We are only worried about now the z component of angular momentum, or the component along the particular axis of rotation is nothing but this, and I'll write it as I of omega, right? And that becomes my standard expression for Lz for a rotating body about an axis, right? And now what is I here? So let's define that. So in this expression, I'll call it equation 1. Now I is defined as sum over mj rj square, right? So this is for let's say an object, or not an object, let's call it a system. A system of n discrete particles, right? And for a continuous body, so for example, for the rigid body like this, we can for a continuous distribution, I will be then integral of dm with r square. So this is the definition of this I which we are using there, and this I is now termed as moment of inertia of the body. the rigid body, right, or the object which is undergoing rotation, right? And so this is the moment of inertia, and once you write the Lz in this form, you can try to see the analogy or the equivalence with this expression. So for translation or translational motion, we describe this momentum as the amount of motion in the body as P equal to m of v, mv, sorry not mv, mv, where m is the mass of the object, v is the velocity or the speed of the object. So if momentum, we are just interested in the magnitude of momentum. The angular momentum, or at least a component of angular momentum along the axis of rotation, is similarly equal to the moment of inertia of the object about that axis, right, and the angular speed, right, or the angular velocity of the object about that axis. Right. So this way now, the angular momentum which we described as L equal to R cross P, and we have different components, it becomes more analogous to this linear momentum if we can write it down in terms of I and omega. Right. And for the time being, this I, which is described as integral r square dm or sum over mj rj square, is a scalar quantity because it's basically just it's a numerical factor, right? We are going to calculate this for different bodies, it will have different values. However, it's just a number which is multiplied to this angular speed, right? It's not going to change anything as far as the behavior of Lz is concerned, right? However, that is just for time being, and later on we will see that the I is more complicated than how do we describe this here. However, for fixed axis rotation and considering angular momentum along the axis of rotation, this is the definition of moment of inertia I, which is equal to r square dm. Another thing that one should keep in mind is that the r here is perpendicular distance from the axis of rotation. So for any body, this is the r. At any point, this is the r. It has nothing to do with the origin, right? So my choice of origin can be anything, right? However, when I calculate the moment of inertia, then all I am interested in is the perpendicular distance of different parts of the body from that axis, right? Not from the choice of origin. So this is one of the important points to consider here. Now, next what we are going to do is we'll take this expression and calculate the moment of inertia for some simple objects, right?